Imagine being raised your whole life as a weapon, no freedom, no family, no real choice. That is how Raon lived. Chapter 1 opens with Raon already in a dangerous situation. He is badly injured, standing in a dark garden at night. In front of him is Derus Robert, the head of House Robert. Derus looks calm, almost too calm, while Raon is clearly struggling just to stay on his feet. From the conversation we learn that Raon was part of an assassin organization called the Shadows. House Robert did not raise these assassins like normal people. They abducted or bought children, brainwashed them, removed their emotions, and trained them to kill. Raon was one of them. But unlike the others, he somehow broke free from the brainwashing, and Derus already knows. Derus asks him why a shadow would need freedom. For him, an assassin is just a tool that follows its owner. No thoughts, no emotions, no personal will. Then Raon suddenly feels an extreme pain inside his body. This is where Derus reveals the second leash placed on the shadows. Not only were they brainwashed, but a rage worm was also implanted inside them. This worm can sense emotions and intentions. So when Raon planned to escape House Robert, the rage worm exposed him. This scene makes Derus look even worse because in public he acts like an honorable noble, but behind the scenes he controls people like disposable objects. Raon realizes he is not getting out alive, his body is already breaking from the inside, and Derus is far stronger than him, but Raon does not want to die quietly. He grabs his sword and forces himself to attack. The panel here shows Raon using the last of his strength even though he already knows the result. Derus easily cuts him down, Raon's head is sliced off, and his final attack is also blocked. But even after blocking it, Derus notices a small cut on his hand. It is not a big wound, but for someone like Derus, that small injury is enough to annoy him. Because Raon was only supposed to be a tool, a disposable assassin. Yet in his final moment, he still managed to leave a mark. After that, Derus orders his men to take Raon's body away. But while everyone ignores the corpse, Raon's necklace starts glowing blue. A message appears saying that he has been chosen by something called anger, but since Raon is already dead, an error occurs. And that is where the story shifts. Raon opens his eyes again. But this time, the atmosphere is completely different. Instead of a dark garden and blood, he sees a warm room. A blonde woman with crimson eyes is shaking baby toys in front of him. Raon looks at his own hands and realizes they are tiny. He is now a baby. At first, he cannot accept it. He thinks maybe this is a dream. But after many days pass, he finally understands the truth. He has reincarnated. And the woman in front of him is his new mother, Sylvia. She calls him Sunshine because he still does not have an official name. Raon is obviously not used to this. He was an assassin in his past life, but now he is being treated like a normal baby. He cannot talk properly, he cannot move properly, he sleeps most of the day, and Sylvia keeps playing with him like any loving mother would. The contrast is pretty funny because inside that baby is a trained assassin, but outside he is just a small child reaching for rattles. While being carried around the room, Raon observes his surroundings. The room is large, decorated well, and even has magical lights. From this, he guesses that his new family is wealthy and probably powerful. For Raon, this is important, because he still remembers Derus Robert. He still remembers how he died, so he quietly decides that if he really has been reborn into a powerful family, he can use this life to prepare for revenge. But before he can think too far, someone arrives. A maid rushes in and tells Sylvia that the master is coming. Sylvia and the servants immediately become nervous. Then an old man enters the room. He has blonde hair, crimson eyes, and an overwhelming presence. The moment Raon sees him, he recognizes who he is. Gulant Sieghart, the head of House Sieghart. And this is when Raon realizes that he did not reincarnate into just any noble family. He was reborn into one of the strongest families on the continent. Chapter 2 continues from this moment. The story explains that House Sieghart is one of the Six Lords, a group of powerful forces on the continent. They rule the northern region, and their strength is on the same level as House Robert. For Raon, this is both shocking and useful. If he grows up here, he may have the resources and training needed to eventually face Derus. Glenn silently examines Raon. He sends warm aura into Raon's body, and Raon immediately feels his body warming up. Glenn silently examines Raon. He sends warm aura into Raon's body, and Raon immediately feels his body warming up. This is important because Raon has been feeling cold ever since reincarnating. At first he thought it was just because he was a baby, but Glenn's aura makes it clear that something is wrong inside his body. After checking him, Glenn gives the baby an official name, Raon, the same name as his past life. Sylvia is surprised because the name means shadow. Glenn explains that the name means he should live quietly and inconspicuously, like a shadow. For Raon, this feels like a strange coincidence. In his past life, he was forced to live as a shadow. Now, even in his second life, he receives the same name again. But Glenn does not stay long. After naming him, he leaves the room coldly. So even though Glenn acts cold in front of Sylvia, this scene shows that he is still watching over Raon from behind the scenes. After that, Sylvia receives a visitor. An old man in shabby clothes enters the room. At first, he does not look impressive, but Raon recognizes him immediately. This is Frederick, also known as the Ragged Saint. He is one of the best healers on the continent. Frederick checks Raon's body carefully. After examining him, he explains the truth. Raon has the frost curse. It is not a literal curse, but a physical condition where intense cold energy blocks the mana circuits. In Raon's case, there are 9 cold lumps inside his body. Frederick says it is rare, and he has never seen a boy born with it before. For now, Raon can survive because his mana circuits are still open. But once he grows older, the pain and cold could become much worse. Sylvia becomes extremely worried. Frederick says Raon should be given diluted fire element elixir every day and should be placed under sunlight for 2 hours at noon. This will help him survive. But even if he lives, Frederick says Raon most likely will not be able to become a swordsman. For House Sieghart, that is a serious problem, because this family values martial strength. But Sylvia does not care about that. She only wants Raon to live. When Sylvia hugs Raon and cries, Raon feels something unfamiliar. He was never treated like this in his past life. Nobody cared if he lived or died, but Sylvia is different. She is afraid of losing him. Raon reaches out with his tiny hand and wipes away her tears. It is a small action, but it hits Sylvia hard. After that, Sylvia goes directly to Glenn. She enters his room and kneels in front of him. She begs him to save Raon. Glenn responds coldly. He says that even if Raon survives, he will not become a martial artist. And in House Sieghart, a weak child has no value. Sylvia still begs. She says Raon does not need to be raised as a martial artist, he just needs to live. But Glenn refuses in front of everyone and orders his men to drag Sylvia away. The scene looks harsh, but after Sylvia leaves, Frederick reveals the truth. Glenn was the one who called him to examine Raon in the first place. Glenn also gives Frederick high-quality elixirs for Raon. So Glenn's words are cold, but his actions show he is not completely heartless. He simply refuses to show it openly. Chapter 3 begins with Sylvia receiving the medicine. Helen, the head handmaiden, brings a warm bowl of diluted elixir. Sylvia worries because the medicine is bitter and Raon is still a baby. She thinks he will cry or spit it out. So even if it tastes bad, he wants every drop. This part is funny because Sylvia is emotional, thinking her baby is being brave, while Raon is secretly treating it like a training resource. After finishing the elixir, Raon pretends to sleep. Once Sylvia and Helen leave, he begins practicing Flamelink again. Thanks to the elixir, his progress becomes smoother. Time then moves forward. More than 2.5 years pass. Raon grows into a young child, but his daily routine stays simple. He plays with Sylvia and Helen. He drinks his elixir, he pretends to nap, then secretly trains Flamelink. At night, when everyone is asleep, he trains again. Raon even thinks he might be the hardest working 3-year-old on the continent. During this period, Sylvia continues treating him with love. She teaches him how to call her mommy, and then after concentrating for a while, a ring forms around his heart. Raon finally completes the first stage of Flamelink. But right after that, something strange appears. A message window pops up in front of him. It says that the first Flamelink has been created. It also says his body has been strengthened and his strength, dexterity, and constitution have increased. Another talent appears as well, water element resistance. Raon is confused because this never happened in his past life. He points at the message and tries to show Helen, but she cannot see anything. So he realizes the messages are only visible to him. Then another window appears, a status window. It shows his name as Raon Sieghart. It also lists his bad condition: curse of bitter frost, poor health, cold energy throughout the body, low athletic ability, and low mana affinity. Basically, the status window confirms that his body is in terrible shape, but Raon does not panic. He already knows his body is weak, and now that he has Flamelink, he believes he can slowly fix those problems. At this point, Raon is still young, but his training is already starting to show results. Then Sylvia enters the room with a formal burgundy uniform. She tells Raon they need to go somewhere. Helen also reminds them that they cannot be late. The next panels show Raon and Sylvia traveling toward the main building of the Sieghart estate. The building is huge and luxurious, showing how powerful this family really is. Raon looks at the massive clock tower and the wide estate, while the narration explains that this is the center of Sieghart power. When they enter the ceremony hall, many nobles and children are already gathered. The atmosphere is not friendly. People immediately start whispering when they see Sylvia and Raon. Some of them look at Raon with curiosity, others look at him with clear judgment. They talk about Sylvia, her past, and the fact that Raon is known as a weak child with a curse. Raon notices everything. He does not react emotionally, but he understands that the people here are already looking down on him before the ceremony even begins. Then Glenn Sieghart appears. The whole hall becomes quiet. Glenn sits at the front like a ruler, and the discernment ceremony finally begins. The chapter ends with the ceremony starting, setting up Raon's first real test in front of the Sieghart family. Chapter 4. Chapter 4 continues directly from the discernment ceremony. The hall is silent as the ceremony device is activated. There's a large magical structure in the center, glowing with blue light. This is where the children will be tested. The atmosphere is tense because everyone is watching. For most children, this ceremony is only about measuring talent, but for Raon, it is different. He is the child people already expect to fail. The nobles in the hall keep whispering about him. They know he has the curse of bitter frost, they know his body is weak, and because of that, many of them do not expect much from him. Raon steps forward calmly. Even though he is still young, he does not look scared. Inside, he already understands what kind of place this is. Sieghart is not a family where people are protected just because they share blood. Here, talent and strength matter more than comfort. Raon places his hand on the ceremony device. At first, the device begins reacting normally. Blue mana rises around him. The people around him watch carefully, expecting a poor result. But then something changes. Raon's flame link begins to react. The energy inside his body starts moving. The fire he built through years of training pushes against the cold energy in his body. The panel becomes brighter and orange flames suddenly appear around him. The reaction is much stronger than anyone expected. The hall, which was full of quiet judgment, suddenly turns into shock. The people who were whispering before now stare at him in disbelief. Even Glenn watches him more seriously. From the visuals, this is the first time Raon shows that he is not just a sick child. His body may still be cursed, but the power inside him is not normal. The ceremony device reacts violently, flames burst upward, and the whole area is filled with heat and light. Sylvia watches with surprise and worry. Helen also looks shocked. The other nobles do not know how to process what they are seeing. Some of them were ready to dismiss Raon, but now the result is too strong to ignore. Raon himself remains focused. He is not trying to show off, he is controlling what he can and trying to understand how the device reacts to his mana. The scene makes it clear that the years of secret training were not wasted. Then the focus shifts to Glenn. Something about this result catches his attention. After the ceremony, the room is still full of reactions. The nobles continue talking. Some are shocked, some are suspicious, some cannot accept that Sylvia's son, the child they looked down on, created such a powerful response. Sylvia looks relieved but also emotional. For years, she only wanted Raon to survive. Now, in front of the entire family, Raon has shown that he may have real potential. The chapter then shifts forward in time. 7 years pass after Raon's first judgment ceremony. Raon is now 12 years old. The final panel shows him older, standing outside with a calm expression. He says it is about time to reach the next stage. So chapter 4 ends by showing that Raon's first ceremony changed how the family saw him. But the real story is still moving forward. He is no longer the helpless baby with a curse. He has grown, trained, and reached the age where his next challenge is about to begin. Chapter 5. Chapter 5 begins after the time skip. Raon is now 12 years old. The opening panels show him outside under a bright sky.